let's see what we end up with here. So we're still maintaining a lot of the little details we saw, the hot streaks. And you can see here now that we're thickening up the base of our particle stream while still maintaining a lot of our interesting shapes within the flame itself. So overall, I think this effect looks pretty good. I'd want to check it out in a render. So let's set up a render. Maybe what I'll do is have it so that maybe the 50th frame of the particle simulation becomes the first frame, just so I don't have to create any kind of a pre-roll. So let me just move this forward a few more frames. Stop it there. And I'll set frame 50 as my initial state. So if I hit 4 to enter the simulate menu, I'll use the ice edit set initial state command with the flame point cloud selected. At this point, if I move back to frame 1, frame 50 is now frame 1. I'll do a couple more things. I'll take my torch, just so it's a little easier to look at, and I'm going to subdivide it so it's rounded. And I'll set the start and end frame of my render up for about 100 frames. That should give us enough time to see how our effect is working. As you can see, though, creating something like flames is fairly straightforward. It doesn't take that much to create a decent looking flame. One of the big problems that I find a lot of people have when working with ice or with particles in general is the problem of scale. You'll find that compounds that work in one scene don't necessarily work in another. So you always have to be aware of the unit scale within which you're building your effect. So I'll switch on over to the render toolbar. I'll set up my scene options. So let's just go to, first of all, do our pass option so I can set the name of my frames. I'll call this the torch, flame torch. I want to verify exactly where that set of frames is going, so I'll use the show resolve paths and expand. So this is going into my exercise 7 training project render pictures, which is good. And as far as the pass frames go, the frames that I'm going to render, I'll set a frame range, and I'll use frames 1 to, well, I'll actually set it up to a frame 200. I might not need that many frames. And as for the pass renderer, we'll use the scene render options, and I'll just jump into the renderer. So this is actually the scene render options here. I'll leave my min and max levels as is, perhaps take my sampling contrast down a little bit more for accuracy. And I'm not dealing with shadows or anything of the sort. So now the only thing left to do is to save a final copy of my scene. So I'll call this final torch. And I'll render that off. So I'll render my current pass. And I'll come back in once the render is done, and we'll have a look at the motion and the believability of our flame. So I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial, and let's wait and see what the final result looks like.